tocinos. We're at a small village called Patapatani on the shore of Lake Titicaca, the southern shore in Bolivia, and my mind is blown because inside this little museum is a 7 to 9 month old fetus of a baby with an elongated head. So this proves that there were people in the past who genetically had elongated heads, and we're fortunate that we have Ken with us, and Ken is a radiologist, which means he's an expert on human anatomy and disease. So we're going to interview him after you see the baby. So here we have Ken, and here we have the fetus baby. Ken, as a medical practitioner, can you tell us what we're looking at?
So we're looking at the fetus here. The ribs are not expanded, so this fetus likely died between 7 and 9 months, or was a stillbirth. We're looking at a somewhat elongated head. The anterior fontanelle is more posterior than normal. Trying to think of a reason why you would have a stillbirth between 7 and 9 months. Usually it's the result of a genetic anomaly. So this is either the result of inbreeding or the breeding of something with human was not compatible. But in any event, the fetus is got human-like characteristics, but it also has non-human-like characteristics in the sense of the elongated skull.
Uh-huh. So in terms of the anatomy, the number of ribs are normal?
The number of ribs I counted were, let's see, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There were 12 ribs.
Okay.
On this side.
So that's normal.
So that's normal. The pelvis looks normal, the femur looks normal, tibia and fibula look normal on this side. The jaw is displaced, but looks normal, no teeth. The orbits look normal. And the cranium is elongated with posteriorly displaced anterior fontanelle. The sutures appear human-like in the sense that they've got the lambdoid, the coronal, and the sagittal sutures. No extra sutures are noted.
The head is literally the size of the body. Do you know of any disease that could cause that?
You could have hydrocephalus, which would cause the enlarged head like that. And that's about the only thing I can think of that would enlarge the head.
But do you think this is hydrocephalus?
I don't know. I do not know. Could be the result of genetic inbreeding, or it could be, like I said, breeding with something that's not compatible with human.
So are you literally saying with that last statement that this could be the product of a Homo sapiens breeding with a non-Homo sapiens?
That is correct. That is what I'm saying.
So sorry, you're saying similar?
Similar, yes.
But not compatible?
Correct. They have to be similar in order to get a fetus to be 7 to 9 months. Whereas if they were completely incompatible, there wouldn't even be implantation. There wouldn't be any embryo at all.
So you heard that, and that came from Dr. Ken, who is a radiologist, a physician from the United States. He believes that the fetus that you were just looking at could be the byproduct, unsuccessful, of the breeding between Homo sapiens sapiens and something else. Something closely related to Homo sapiens sapiens, because otherwise you would not get a possible baby. But he has stated quite convincingly and straight that he believes that that is not Homo sapiens sapiens. On a previous trip here, we had a radiologist from the United States called Ken, who looked at these two specimens, both the fetus skeleton and what he described as a young woman's skeleton, and after careful consideration, he believed and still believes that they were mother and baby. The baby died in the womb at 7 to 9 months gestation, but both, he believes, died during childbirth. The amazing thing is that the baby has an elongated skull, or I should say the fetus has an elongated skull, which you will see is the size of the torso. And the size of the skull of the young woman is exceptionally large, and Ken said this is not an example of cranial deformation or head binding or cradle boarding. This individual, and in fact both, were and would have been born with this condition. So here we have the baby, or the fetus. As you can see, its skull is the size of its torso. This is not hydrocephaly. This, and we'll discuss this with the doctor, seems to be some kind of genetic anomaly. And now here we have the Tani, so-called Tani skeleton. According to radiologist Ken, this was a young woman who died between 8 and 12 years old. But we do have Dr. Dave here. And doctor, can you give us some insights into what you're looking at?
Well, it looks to me like he does have the coronal sutures on both sides. I think he does have a sagittal suture here has been pushed back, but he doesn't have a metopic suture. That's what he's missing in the frontal area.
And is that an irregularity?
It can be. We see it from time to time in regular humans.
And how about the shape of the skull? Do you think this is the result of head binding?
I can't say for sure. It looks like it is. But I can see the sagittal suture up there. You've got your camera on it now. And behind that are the lambdoid sutures.
So, Dr. Dave, you are a neurologist.
Correct.
And what observations have you made as regards the two specimens that you just saw?
Well, the most one that's fascinating to me is the infant, the child. I mean, this baby was born with an elongated skull, obviously. It is obviously not the product of obstructive hydrocephalus. The morphology of the shape of the skull is not consistent with that diagnosis. So clearly this baby was born that way, which makes it very interesting indeed.
So there you have it. So far we've made 2 trips to this little museum at Patapatani. Each time we've had a physician with us from the United States, and both of them concur that the baby would have been born with an elongated skull. So that is a genetic variation, to say the least. Ken, the radiologist, who was here about 6 months ago with us, declared that what he was looking at was not the result of some kind of disease. In fact, he stated, "This is not a human being." And I said, "Do you mean this is not Homo sapiens sapiens?" And he said, "That is correct. This is, at the minimum, a subspecies of humanity. And at the extreme, possibly a different genus. But at least now we found one clear example of a being that would have been born with an elongated skull here at Lake Titicaca in Bolivia. I have 900 more videos you can watch on my YouTube channel and my website www.hiddenincatours.com.